Hello and welcome to Sabha TV, watching News Tonight with your host Rajya. And before we go to the headlines, here is a small appeal from Sabha TV. Well, we ask all our viewers to stay safe from COVID-19 pandemic, wear face masks, wash hands and face regularly and maintain physical distancing while stepping outside. Remember, these simple precautions are all that it takes to defeat the pandemic. And now over to the headlines of the day. Prime Minister Narendra Modi reviews COVID-19 situation, calls for an election-like vaccine distribution strategy engaging every aspect of government machinery and society. Well, steady decline continues in COVID cases. Active cases fall below 8 lakhs for the first time in 45 days. Recovery rate goes up to 87.78%. Well, in Bihar, RJD-led coalition releases election manifesto. Devendra Fadnavis holds public meeting for BJP in Munger. Scrutiny of nomination papers concludes for second phase of polls. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern wins second term in landslide election. Resounding mandate gives the Labour Party its biggest votes since 1930s. And lastly, Navratri celebrations begins across the country. Prime Minister Modi extends best wishes. Praise for Goddess Durga's blessings to bring positive change in lives of poor and the downtrodden. Well, now the news in details. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a meeting on the COVID-19 situation and vaccine administration on Saturday. Now, calling for full preparedness to ensure speedy access to COVID-19 vaccines for every citizen. He suggested developing a vaccine delivery system on the lines of conducting polls involving all levels of government and citizen groups. He also noted a steady decline in daily cases and growth rate, but caution against any complacency in observing precautions during the festival season. Well, the Prime Minister once again laid stress on continuing social distancing and COVID-appropriate behavior like wearing masks, regularly washing hands and sanitation. This was second meeting chaired by Prime Minister in last 48 hours. On Thursday, he held a review meeting to assess the progress of research and vaccine development ecosystem to fight COVID-19. Saturday's meeting was also attended by Union Minister Harshvardhan and other officials. Well, the active caseload of COVID-19 infections in India fell below 8 lakhs for the first time after 1.5 months. Now, 70,816 coronavirus patients recovered in last 24 hours, taking total recoveries to over 65.24 lakhs. Recoveries exceeded fresh cases for yet another day by 8,600 cases on Saturday, which being 8,606 case difference between recovered and the fresh cases. The recovery rate improved to 87.8%. Active cases reduced to 7.95 lakhs, making it only 10.70% of the total cases. Now, India reported 62,212 new COVID-19 cases on Saturday and 837 deaths in last 24 hours. The total case stands at 74.32 lakhs, while 1,12,998 lives have been lost to the virus. As many as 9.32 crore samples have been tested in the country so far, including 9.99 lakh COVID samples tested on Friday. Well, the government on Saturday allayed concerns that mutation in coronavirus could hinder development of an effective vaccine. A statement by Prime Minister's office said, two pan-India studies on genome of novel coronavirus in India conducted by ICMR and Department of Biotechnology suggest it has shown no major mutation. The statement also said that 3 vaccines are in advanced stage of development in India, of which 2 are in phase 2 and 1 is in advanced phase 3. Meanwhile, Drug Control General of India has given approval to Dr. Reddy's Laboratories Limited and the Russian Direct Investment Fund to conduct an adaptive phase 2 and phase 3 human clinical trial for Sputnik V vaccine in India. Earlier in September 2020, Dr. Reddy's and RDIF entered into a partnership to conduct clinical trials of Sputnik V vaccine and its distribution in India. Now, as part of the partnership, RDIF shall supply 100 million doses of vaccine to Dr. Reddy's upon regulatory approval in India. Union Minister Harshvardhan has cautioned that next 2.5 months will be crucial in fight against coronavirus because of winter season and the festivals. He urged people not to let the guards down and follow COVID-19 appropriate behavior to curb the spread of the infection. He also expressed hope that India will soon have indigenous vaccine. The Health Minister said India is continuously recording new milestone in treatment of COVID-19. Now, with Unlock 5.0 guidelines in 4 tourist places closed due to coronavirus pandemic are now opening to public. The State Statue of Unity in Gujarat's Narmada district was opened for visitors for the first time since March on Saturday. Only 2,500 tourists will be permitted every day. Tickets can be purchased only from authorized website. The famed Lord Ayyappa temple in Kerala's Sabrimala was opened to devotees after remaining closed for over 6 months. Only 250 worshippers who carry a COVID-19 negative certificate would be allowed to enter the temple every day. Indian Railways' first corporate train, Tejas Express, resumed its service for the first time after March 19. Arogya Setu app is mandatory to board the train. Use of face masks will be mandatory for passengers and staff, and all passengers will go through a thermal screening and hand sanitization process before entering the coach. Well, the day after, the centre announced that it will borrow 1.1 lakh crore on behalf of the states. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Thursday reached out to all states, thanking them for the support to deal with issue of national interest and wrote a letter explaining the contours of the scheme. The centre has ensured relief of the states. As of now, they don't have to borrow to pay the GST compensation shortfall. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has thanked all the chief ministers for their cooperation in settling the GST compensation issue. She wrote to them that based on their suggestion, it has been decided that centre will now undertake the required borrowing in tranches and give it to the states as loan. This will enable coordination and simplicity in borrowing, apart from ensuring a favourable interest rate. Sitharaman said she was sensitive to the fact that states need to be protected from adverse consequences of higher borrowing in the form of interest liability and addition to debt. She assured that centre will arrange the borrowing in a manner that cost would be close to interest rate of the central government. The total GST revenue shortfall for the current financial year was estimated at Rs 3 lakh crore. Of this, compensation cess collection was estimated to be Rs 65,000 crore, which leaves a compensation deficit of Rs 2.35 lakhs crore. Of this 2.35 lakh crore, Rs 1.1 lakh crore shortfall has been estimated on account of GST implementation that now centre will borrow and pass on to the states. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV. Well, moving on, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said the violent clashes at India-China border in Ladakh sector in June had a very deep public and political impact. It also left relationship between India and China profoundly disturbed. He added that it had shaken the solid foundation of mutual respect, and Indian public and political classes in India outraged. Akhilesh Suman brings us this report. The killing of Indian soldiers in Galwan Valley severely dented India's relationship with China. At a function at the New York-based Asia Society Policy Institute, Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar said the former relationship between the two countries no longer exists.
When you had, friction points, which was large number of troops at different points, very close to each other, then something, tragic like what happened on 15th of June happened. And, to underline the enormity of that, it was the first military casualty we had after 1975. So really, it's a very big deal. Yeah. So what it has done is it has obviously had a very deep public impact, a very major political impact, and it has left the relationship profoundly disturbed.
20 Indian soldiers were killed by Chinese army on 15 June 2020. Jaishankar said the unprecedented violence by China breached the peace on the border that had endured for the last 30 years.
Even though both the countries had the border dispute going on for several decades, along with the security competition, India took comfort in the fact that there had been no violence on the line of actual control. But the clash at Galwan Valley on June 15 completely changed these dynamics. The loss of lives of the Indian soldiers was unexpected, and that too when the process of disengagement was ongoing.
Both countries have had disagreement in the past, but existing agreement ensured that peace prevailed between both the sides. The foreign minister's response indicates that China has only itself to blame for the consequences that its short-sighted action has unleashed.
It was expected that after informal summits between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping in Wuhan and Chennai will deepen the relationship between the two countries. But what we saw in Galwan Valley was contrary to this spirit. How much time it will take to normalize the relationship between India and China, only history will tell. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Television with camera person Junaid in Delhi.
Well, time for a very short break. More on the other side. Keep watching News Tonight.
Watch The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira, at 9:30 p.m.
Five million subscribers. 1 million subscribers in less than 10 months. Over 17 million hours of content watched online. RSTV, one of the fastest growing YouTube channel. 5 million subscribers, the count is on. Welcome back. You're watching News Tonight on Rajya TV. Time for more news. Now, time for update on poll-bound Bihar. The nomination process for second phase of Bihar Assembly elections concluded today. Polling for 94 seats in this phase will take place on November 3rd. A total of 1,062 candidates have filed nomination papers in this phase. The Grand Alliance partners in Bihar, the Congress, RJD and the left parties released its joint manifesto for the upcoming polls. The manifesto titled Badlav Ka Sankalp has promised 10 lakhs job for youngsters and repealing the new farm laws. Focusing on education sector, 12% state budget will be spent on the education.
बिहार की जनता हमें मौका देती है तो पहले कैबिनेट में पहले दस्तखत अगर मेरा कलम चलेगा तो 10 लाख नौजवानों को हम रोजगार देने का काम करेंगे पहले कैबिनेट में। दूसरी बात हम लोगों ने ये कही थी कि जो भी छात्र छात्राएं या नियुक्ति के लिए आवेदन फॉर्म जो भरा करते हैं उसको हम लोग माफ़ करेंगे।
जिनका नारा ही था ज़मीन हड़पो, तो ज़िंदगी भर जो पार्टियां किसानों की ज़मीन हड़पती रही वो ज़मीन की किसानों की बात कर रही है। जो लोग पैसा लेकर नौकरी देते रहे वो लोग नौकरी की बात कर रहे हैं और जो लोग नियोजित शिक्षकों को कहते थे अयोग्य हैं, उनको पढ़ाना नहीं आता है, उनको कह रहे कि हम समान वेतन समान काम देंगे, तो ये लोग केवल घोषणा कर सकते हैं, केवल बोल सकते हैं, ये कुछ दे नहीं सकते हैं।
Well, BJP's Bihar election in charge, Devendra Fadnavis, addressed an election rally in Munger district. He said the JDU-BJP alliance has worked for the development of the state in the last 5 years.
मेडिकल कॉलेज खुले, इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज खुल रहे, पॉलिटेक्निक खुल रहे, आईटीआई खुल रहे। पिछले 5 सालों में मानव संसाधन तैयार करने वाले सारे कॉलेजेस, सारी इंस्टीट्यूशन इस बिहार में आदरणीय मोदी जी और नीतीश जी ने शुरू की। तो आने वाले दिनों में मेरे बिहार का बेटा पढ़ेगा तो मानव संसाधन बनेगा, मानव संसाधन बनेगा तो खुद भी रोजगार पाएगा और औरों को भी रोजगार देगा। एक नई नीति इस बिहार के अंदर हमारे मोदी जी और नीतीश जी के माध्यम से आई है।
Well, the Madhya Pradesh Congress released its manifesto for the upcoming state assembly by-elections on Saturday. In the manifesto, Congress promised help to families of COVID-19 victims, saying that pension will be given to a woman in case of death of a husband, while food and health services would be provided to poor during the ongoing crisis. The opposition party has also promised to roll out a farm loan waiver scheme, a welfare scheme for cows, and uplift the Gwalior-Chambal region. 28 assembly seats in state will have by-polls on November 3rd. Scrutiny of nominations for by-elections to 54 assembly elections in 10 states concluded on Saturday. The last date of withdrawal of the candidature is October 19th. Polling on all 54 seats will take place on November 3rd, while counting of votes will be done on November 10th. While polls will be held for 28 seats in Madhya Pradesh, 8 seats will go to by-polls in Gujarat, 7 in UP, 2 each in Jharkhand, Karnataka and Nagaland, and 1 seat each in Chhattisgarh, Haryana and Telangana. The Ministry of Information Broadcasting has given clearance to digital media industry to set up a self-regulatory body similar to print and electronic media. A statement by ministry said that entities in digital media can form self-regulating bodies. For furthering their interest and interaction with the government, the statement by ministry said it is considering allowing placement of government advertisements in digital media platforms that upload or stream current affairs and news. The ministry is also considering extending the facility of PIB accreditation to reporters, cameramen and videographer working in digital media. The government also said that news aggregators, news agency and supply information to digital media firms and companies upload news and current affairs on websites will have to comply with 26% foreign investment cap. The Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade said that decision of permitting 26% FDI through government route would apply to certain categories of Indian entities registered or located in India. The Union Cabinet has approved 26% FDI under government route for uploading, streaming of news and current affairs through digital media on the lines of print media. Well, a terrorist was killed in an encounter with security forces in Anantnag district of Jammu and Kashmir on Saturday. Security forces launched a cordon and search operation in Larnu area of Anantnag district following intel about the presence of terrorists. The search operation turned into gunfight after terrorists opened fire at the team. Security forces retaliated and one terrorist was killed in the crossfire. Arms and ammunition were recovered from the encounter site. Well, New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has won a landslide victory in the general election, securing second consecutive term. While with the most of the ballot counted, Ardern Labour Party had won 49% votes, far ahead of its main challenger, the Conservative National Party, at 27%, in an election largely considered as a referendum on Ardern's decisive response to COVID-19 pandemic. With Labour on target to win an outright majority in 120-seat parliament, 40-year-old Ardern looks to set to form first single-party government in over 2 decades. No leader has achieved an absolute majority since New Zealand adopted a proportional voting system in 1996, leading to a succession of multi-party governments. Opposition leader Judith Collins conceded defeat and congratulated Ardern for her victory. In a victory speech in front of hundreds of cheering supporters in Auckland, Ardern said her party had gotten more support from New Zealanders than any time in last 50 years. Ardern worked the top job in New Zealand in 2017 election when Labour Party formed an alliance with 2 other parties.
This has not been an ordinary election, and it's not an ordinary time. It's been full of uncertainty and anxiety, and we set out to be an antidote to that. We will govern as we campaign positively, with optimism about our future, with a relentless focus on a recovery that brings New Zealanders with us to deliver long-lasting change. Now more than ever is the time to keep going, to keep working, to grab hold of the opportunities that lay in front of us. So let's step forward together. Ka hoake tono tātou. Let's keep moving.
Well, every year, October 17 is observed as International Day for Eradication of Poverty. This day is about spreading awareness on poverty, hunger, violence, fear, and finding ways to mitigate it. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu urged everyone to strive together for the upliftment of downtrodden and build a more equitable society. He said there was an urgent need to address the root cause of poverty in its all dimension: economic, social, legal, or environmental. The theme for International Day for Eradication of Poverty 2020 is acting together to achieve social and environmental justice for all. This theme addresses the challenge of achieving social and environmental justice for all. COVID-19 poses a great challenge to UN Sustainable Development Goal of ending poverty by the year 2030 because there has been increase in relative and absolute size of number of poor people across the globe. Because of economic slowdown everywhere, developing countries are expected to be worst affected. And severity of the effects will depend on how long the pandemic lasts and on how the national governments and the international community reacts. Well, the festival of Navratri, which marks the worship of goddess Durga, begins across the country. Prime Minister Modi has extended greetings on the auspicious occasion of Navratri. In his message to people, Prime Minister Modi wished for happiness, peace and prosperity for everyone. He prayed to the goddess for strength to bring a positive change in lives of poor and downtrodden. During these 9 days of festivity, different avatars of goddess Durga are evoked and prayed to. However, COVID-19 has changed the way festivals are being celebrated this year. With face masks, social distancing and fewer pandals, devotees are seen visiting temples for worship following COVID-19 guidelines. Well, that's it in this bulletin. But before we leave you, once again, appeal to all our viewers to stay safe from COVID-19 pandemic. Wear face masks, wash hands and face regularly, and maintain physical distancing while stepping outside. Remember, these simple precautions are all that takes to defeat